This opportunity is just extremely meaningful. It's more than just driving the boat. It's more than just honoring Bill while driving it. It's this connection to his family, to the San Diego area, and all these deep roots that go way back. Growing up in Southern California, the Thunderboats would come to town every September, and as far back as I remember going. And my dad was a big fan of all forms of racing, and when the Thunderboats were in town, we would always go. You know, as time went on and being able to go and be inside the pits and watch Bill in a couple of races, and then sadly, you know, losing Bill, and then Chip coming in and driving the boat, but Fran and Eddie and, you know, the family still being there all the time, and our connection. I just can't believe that this moment's coming around. Remember the boats felt like so much bigger when I was a kid, and to think that there's, what is it, 2,000 horsepower?
Yeah.
That's a 25-foot boat or something?
Boat's 28 feet.
28 feet with 2,000 horsepower. And no seatbelt, by the way.
What could possibly go wrong?
This is so cool. Caffeine.
He's trying to sober up.
Haven't taken the breathalyzer test yet. Trying to mask it with some coffee.
My name's Chip Hanauer. I'm a washed-up hydroplane driver. This event with Jimmie driving Bill Muncey's boat is tremendously meaningful to me because I'm kind of the only one that knows all the players. Jimmie, as a young boy, was a huge Bill Muncey fan, but he never knew Bill. I knew Bill. Bill was I was his protege, I guess. Ed, well, he knew Jimmie, and obviously it was, you know, Bill's son. So I knew all these people, and for me to first hear the story and then play a role in bringing everybody together to make this wonderful thing happen is just meaningful to me.
Patrol boat bring you in. But now we are probably getting close to driver's meeting, and Linda has a lot of paperwork, not a lot, but has some paperwork for you to fill out, and we need to get your breathalyzer.
You got it.
Come right in.
So you've all gotten a breakdown of how everything's going to go for this morning. For the testing, we got a 3-hour block. So we're going to start off with a quick test session so that Mark and or Dave and Jimmie will go out, do a quick test to get a feel for everything. That should take about, I put 20 minutes, but if they're done earlier, just be ready. And we're gonna go give you as much.
We may take 45 minutes. It's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Hi there, my name is Edward Muncey. I'm the son of Bill Muncey, which is one of the big reasons we're here. My father, Bill Muncey, he drove the hydroplane that's known as the Blue Blaster Atlas Van Lines from 1977, and ultimately he was killed in it in 1981 in Acapulco, racing out front. Final race of the year, final heat, and that's why we're kind of here today. And we have a big story in between that we get to tell tonight with Jimmie and reflect back on such a great story that's come together with so many good friends and family that are here. Well, I got to know Jimmie through a friend of ours, Rick Johnson, a mutual friend. My sister actually started dating Rick Johnson in October of 1981. Rick was, I think, always a big brother to Jimmie. He was a mentor early on in his racing career, and over the course of time, we got to know each other. Well, after my father had, after they started dating, my sister and Rick Johnson, my father was killed 3 weeks later. And it's at that point afterwards, Rick Johnson started becoming a bigger part of my life. It meant a huge, tremendous impact for me, and was there in a very important part of my life and helped me become the person that I am today. He did a whole bunch of neat things, but I think for us, we got to know Jimmie more through Rick and Gary, Jimmie's father. Gary approached my mom in 1983 to take Jimmie and I on a racing series. It's called the Golden State Series. But it was really special. The best part about that was I got to hear the dynamic between Jimmie and his father. And Gary is riding him constantly as we drive up to the race or ride back. It's conversations like, Jimmie, Make sure you say thank you to all your friends. Make sure you compliment other riders. Make sure you say gracious things to other people. Make sure you share your appreciation with your sponsors. Make sure you give feedback on the motorcycle. Make sure you ask them for feedback. How could I be a better racer for you? It was those types of conversations you'd never heard from any other child and parent. So I did start thinking Gary was talking to me. I had lost my father a few years previously. Years later, looking back at that, no, it had nothing to do with me. It was all about Jimmie, and Gary absolutely was actually handling Jimmie, keeping him in his lane, keeping him in so he was in control and knew what he had in front of him. He was actually had the makings of a champion. Gary, whether he knew it consciously or subconsciously, he was being a great father, and it was something I'll never forget. I learned so much on those trips, just with those conversations alone. So for that, I'll forever be grateful to Gary, but also for Jimmie. And I will say, it was the funniest thing to see Gary is such a wonderful person, he's so genuine, but to see him ride Jimmie like that, it was the funniest thing you'd ever seen.
So we have Emily Rainey. How are you?
Hi.
Okay, Jim.
You I know.
Denise.
Okay.
Good morning.
Jimmie Johnson.
Yeah, so have you print here, sign in the middle, and then just write vintage on your duties. And then I'll get you a sticker.
I mean, I've driven boats my whole life. Not that that applies or makes a difference here, but at least I've been on the water. Everything I owned was always a pickle fork. I just fell in love with this kind of boat. Yeah. I took a little bit of a ribbing from my friends that all had jet boats and stuff on the rivers growing up, but I just loved the way these boats walked, and then I wanted to experience it my own when I have my own little boat.
So you're feeling confident? You're just gonna get out there and rip it?
I do. Thankfully, I've got Pro over here going to show me the ropes. Get you out and ride in the
Seems to know what he's doing.
the two-seater
Well,
first, which will be really nice, so I'm not overwhelmed with
To sound like everybody's father. This time we're not going to rip it. We're going to go slow now, so we can go really fast later.
Exactly.
Just going to
Well, that's how you
learn
do
a few things.
work into it.
All right, moment of truth here, dude.
Yep.
What do you want me to do? Here.
He's going to pass because I watched him last night.
This is the best part.
Excited?
Breathalyzer.
We were going to tell him that you failed, to fail you for just
I offered
stealing
to
on
mess
your-
with you, Dad.
I tried to bribe her and she wouldn't take.
Right? Is there a technique? I fortunately have never been through this before.
Take a deep breath in and then just blow steady and slow.
Okay.
Deep breath. Hold.
8.1. You win.
Now, if you raced your whole life, 50 years, and you've never done this, it lets you know what type of
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
lets you know what type of partiers boat races are. They have to do this every
Right?
race.
Right? They've always threatened us, especially at Talladega. That's kind of the race for NASCAR guys, but
Jimmie's going out in the pan pack this time with me. We're sending the Atlas out on sort of a shakedown run by itself. Hydroplane racing is very different than any other form of motorsports. And when Jimmie gets in the boat tomorrow, it's going to feel very different for a number of reasons. First of all, the thing is huge. It's 30 feet long, it weighs 6,000 pounds, it's probably 3 times the bulk of a NASCAR, and it's got tremendous horsepower. We're running 1,700 cubic inch supercharged Rolls-Royce Merlin that'll easily put out 2,500 horsepower. It's a beast. And car racing, there's a lot of finesse to it. There ain't no finesse in this. It is hairy-chested, knuckle-dragging, brute force driving. When we go out tomorrow, probably the greatest driver of all time, Chip Hanauer, has been stewarding this process. And we were looking forward to him taking Jimmie out, but he's decided to take on a coaching role. He'll be back on the beach in a radio telling Jimmie what to do. The first time we go out in the morning, we'll be in a 2-seat boat called the Pan Pack, and I'll be driving. Jimmie will be sitting next to me. And I just want him to get a feel for what it feels like, what's normal, what's it supposed to feel like. And we'll do, I'll probably give him a lap and a half, and then I'll turn the steering wheel over to him and let him find out, what it takes to get the thing around the corner. Then we'll come in. and we'll debrief and we'll talk about it and we'll answer questions. And then later in the day, Jimmie will go out in the blaster and I'll go out sort of as a stalking horse and I will run next to him in the pay and pack to make sure that he doesn't have to find the lane. And that's another thing that's very, very different. The lake is huge and it's flat. Race cars run on race courses and there's fences and there's lines and it's pretty easy to tell where the race course is. Jimmie's an incredibly experienced driver, but we still want to make sure that there are no questions. So I'll be outside and I'll run a lap and he'll just be inside of me. And it's going to be a blast. He's going to have the time of his life, I guarantee that. Today, beautiful weather. A few little hiccups with the race course setup, and I was getting nervous and Jimmie kept going, it's boat racing, dude. It's racing. It happens. You wouldn't believe at Daytona or Talladega or wherever. We always have these little things come up. So we got out on the race course. Jimmie did great. The boat was a little down on power, which actually was fortuitous because it allowed him to do a lot of early steering. He drove most of those laps. We never really got going fast. I'll be swapping out. We'll be putting a different boat in the water for his run later today. But one of the things about racing and racing your whole life, you just got to roll with what happens. You got to be smile no matter what, and it's going to be good. To be honest, when we're out there, it's too noisy to talk, and we didn't have a two-way radio between each other. So he really didn't have any questions. Well, when he got in, he was just thrilled. He said, wow, that is so cool, that is so loud, that's so exciting. So I think he's having a good time. And earlier I sort of joked, we got to go slow to go fast. We went slow enough that he got a lot of steering time. I mean, he drove most of the time out there and is more than ready to go out and take the wheel by himself.
It's this kind of an amazing confluence of several different factors. I mean, there are actually 5 members of the Motorsports Hall of Fame who are woven into this in some fashion. Bill Muncey was a legend, was the first powerboat racer inducted into Motorsports Hall of Fame in the inaugural class. A very famous, popular driver. His most famous boat was the Atlas Van Lines Blue Blaster, in which a lot of fans, but tragically Bill was killed in that boat. The boat ended up at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum for several years. And when it rotated out of the collection, it came here to the Hydroplane and Raceboat Museum where it was restored. Behind the scenes, and earlier in that time frame, Fran Muncey and her family had promised Bill they would continue the team if anything happened. And so Bill had recognized Chip Hanauer was kind of the next star of the sport. Fran built a new boat, hired Chip. They won the Gold Cup, the biggest race of the year, 7 years in a row, and found different connections along the way. And Chip was the one that was reaching out on behalf of the museum to see if maybe there were drivers from another form of racing. And he connected with his friend Keith at Hendricks, and Keith mentioned it to Jimmie, and he said Jimmie got all excited and told him the story that led to us making the announcement at the Hall of Fame at Jimmie's induction a couple years ago and setting the stage for today.
When I walked into the room, I guess 2 Januaries ago to be inducted in the Motorsports Hall of Fame, I saw the boat, I saw Chip, I saw Fran, I saw Ed. What is going on? And said hello, of course, and what are you doing here? No one really let me know. 10 minutes later, they're at the podium calling me up on stage and sharing this opportunity. So it just means the world to me to have this finally come together. The family ties and deep history just make this all the more special. I'm not nervous, and maybe that'll change when I get there and the moment sinks in, but just looking forward to it.
Thumbs up on mic check.
Loud and clear.
More primer, more primer.
Don't forget to crack the throttle a little bit.
There you go, right there. What a sight. Jimmie Johnson in the Atlas Van Lines. David Williams in the Griffin Budweiser. This almost looks like back in the day racing. Oh, it's going to be close, but it's going to be Jimmie Johnson who's going to take the checkered flag.
Well done, man. Well done. Thank you, buddy. This is so special. Thank you so much.
I'm Bill Osborne. I've been photographing unlimited hydroplanes professionally since 1966. Well, what happened was Bill Muncey had a bad day. Bad day for Bill was the boat engine broke and he drifted towards the shore in Fiesta Island. Normally I never went to Fiesta Island, but I was there that day and the boat drifted to shore, and actually what preceded Jimmie getting on the boat was a guy who ran the deck of the boat and tackled Bill and took him into the water. And Bill got up and he did this to the crowd. The crowd loved it. And at some point Jimmie got on the boat and I kept taking pictures, and years later David Williams from the museum said, can you send me a high-res image of that portion of the boat? Because we think we know who it is, and it was Jimmie. And apparently he was about 4 years old. Well, full circle is that getting to see Jimmie, obviously a NASCAR legend, a motorsport Hall of Fame inductee, and to get him the opportunity to drive an unlimited hydroplane, it's cool. But he handled it really well. I contend if you give him another 15 laps, he could go out and run on one of these things and he'd be fine. Again, he's a racer. That's what he does.
What a day. I got to drive the Blue Blaster. I'm just so thankful that this opportunity came about. Muncey family, people from Atlas, Carvana supported me once again on another incredible opportunity to lean on the phrase of no finish lines and to be here at Seafair in this amazing community and go really fast in a boat. So I'm just still kind of buzzing from my experience in the boat, being something that's so powerful and have no seatbelt, an open cockpit, and really a very aggressive, rough ride, not only on the straightaways, but as you set the boat down in the corners, just incredible. I did overhear them talking about how much RPM the engine could turn, and it was different than the number they gave me. So I may have exploited that opportunity to get some more straightaway speed, and can't wait to see some videos. As a kid watching these boats, the sound, the rooster tail, and then in the corners when they would dig in, they would just throw up all this water. I can't wait to see myself behind the wheel of an unlimited hydroplane and what that all looks like. So full of gratitude, very thankful for the opportunity, and I hope this isn't my last time in an unlimited hydroplane.